Okay, next is absolutely an all-star in our building. One of the prompts that I got from the board was that I needed to do a really good job with our cafeteria. And I had one phone call to make it a better place. And so I could say all of these things, but I didn't. Staff member said this. First thing, the only thing I wrote on here is Miss Dina Davis is a rock star. Everything else was either written by students or staff. Dina Davis has consistently gone above and beyond in her role. Her dedication to providing our students with nutritious and delicious meals is admirable. She takes the time to understand our students' dietary needs and preferences and works tirelessly to create healthy and appealing menu options. One of the most notable contributions Dina Davis has made is her introduction of new nutritious snack options for her students. These snacks have been a huge hit, with students raving about how much they enjoy them. She has a keen understanding of child nutrition and has ensured that these snacks are tasty and provide the essential nutrients for students that they need to thrive. Dina Davis's impact extends beyond the cafeteria as well. She is always willing to lend a helping hand, whether assisting with school events or supporting our teachers in the classroom. Her positive attitude and infectious enthusiasm have truly made a difference in the lives of our students and staff. Daily, someone sends a celebration of their experience in the cafeteria. One student wrote, "Dear Miss Housekeeper, I think Miss Dina Davis should be considered for a Jacket Pride Award. I think she should get it because she is very kind to students and she is always willing to give to others. I see her working even longer than you. Thank you, Miss Dina, for all that you do for our school." Two staff members stated. One said, "Huge shout out to Dina and the cafeteria staff for their awesome offerings today. Being across from the cafeteria, I heard a lot of positive feedback. We really enjoyed the variety and the food was fantastic. I just wanted to give a shout out to Dina for getting our kids fresh fruit for a snack time. The kids have been excited about it each day. We are blessed to have Miss Dina loving our students in the cafeteria." Miss Dina, we love you.
I gotta say that I've had people brag on our cafeteria and her out at Walmart.
We are so blessed. And I could have cried, but I didn't. So see, I knew you would go lame if I cried. No, seriously. Thank you so much. Here's your flower. You feel taller like that. I said you would be lame if I cried, but I almost did. I'm sorry. We love you. Thank you. It's the deal. She's the real deal now. Okay, this next one, you guys, if you've ever seen The Wizard of Oz, I can tell you that the next person is not a staff member here, but we have adopted her as part of our Jacket family. I can't even tell you the things that she's done for our district, and she didn't even know us. So we got connected with Miss Jan Johnston out of literally a crisis situation. And Jan lives in northern Kentucky. There have been times that she stopped by here at random and spent hours and sometimes days with us to help us clean up our finances. Now, I am going to read this. This is the write-up about Miss Jan Johnston. However, it's going to be a hard one to get through because someone wrote a very heartfelt, we don't know what we would have done without Jan. Jan has dedicated her life to love on people she didn't even know. And everybody in this district, staff, board, students, have been impacted by her, I guess, just sacrifice for our community. Now, Dalton, I'm throwing you a bone by not making you read this, but it's gonna, I know. Okay. All right, be tough. Okay, nearly 11 months ago, I stepped into this role, not entirely knowing what to expect. This is from Dalton. I was excited for a new challenge, eager for an opportunity to give back to my alma mater, and ready to grow both personally and professionally. But what I quickly realized was that the learning curve was far steeper than I had anticipated. Me too. During these past 10 and a half months, I spent many long nights trying to grasp the full scope of this job. Fortunately, I wasn't alone. I had the great fortune of working alongside Carrie and Tabitha, who were also new to their roles. Together, we faced the unknown with nothing but determination and each other to lean on. There were countless nights when I brought my work home, and it got to the point where my wife would ask if I'd ever make it home in time for a warm meal. Most nights, I'd eat the plate she set aside and head straight back to my computer. On top of the day-to-day responsibilities, I was also working to complete 12 hours of accounting for my finance officer certification. It was a tough 32 weeks, to say the least. Throughout this time, I tried to be as proactive as possible, reaching out to my mentor, Adam, and to other finance officers across different counties for guidance. While their support was invaluable, their workloads made it difficult for us to get the one-on-one time I needed. That's when Tabitha introduced us to someone who would become an incredible resource, Jan Johnston. From the moment Jan took our first call, she became deeply invested in helping us succeed. She answered our questions regularly, often going above and beyond, connecting us with key contacts at KDE and offering her years of experience as a finance officer, HR director, and member of the KDE. Jen has been an absolute blessing to me, Tabitha, Carrie, and Josh. Definitely Josh. He's been added to that. Her willingness to help and her dedication to our success have been extraordinary. I never imagined that Jan, who hails from Campbell County, would make the journey down to Williamsburg. But I remember the day she called and said she'd be coming to work with us for a few days. Since then, she's made several trips to Williamsburg, showing up at the most critical moments. We often say she's an angel dropped from heaven on the right days. Like yesterday, Dalton said, "Hold on, Jan is at the red light. Make a spot. She's coming." I was like, what? I mean, it's amazing how she just shows up. Whether it was helping us submit budgets, cleaning up years of financial records, or setting up state and federal grants, Jan has been a constant source of guidance and support. Jan didn't just offer advice from a distance. She took me under her wing, answering every call, walking me through complex processes, and even sending example documents to ensure I had what I needed. Her selflessness, her genuine care, and her deep commitment to helping someone new to the field have been nothing short of inspiring. I often ask her, "Jan, will we be okay? Am I ever going to learn this?" And she always replies, "I know exactly what you're going through. You're going to do great things." This past year has been far from easy, but I'm incredibly grateful for my work family and the support of this board. We have believed in the goals we've set for ourselves, and to Jan, I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude. She has given me the confidence to not only trust my work, but also to believe in myself. As I've told her countless times, "Jan, I can't thank you enough for all you've done for us." Beyond the professional guidance, Jen has been there for me personally as well. During one of the darkest times in my life, the loss of my Mamaw Betty, Jan's kindness shone through. She would check in on me regularly, asking about Mamaw and offering comfort during those difficult final weeks. I'll never forget when I discovered a shadow box among the gifts my family received after the funeral. I didn't know who sent it, but later, on one of our weekly calls, Jan asked, "Did you get a shadow box? I was worried it wouldn't arrive in time." She shared how someone had done the same for her after she lost her brother, and she wanted to offer me the same gesture of comfort. There's a quote I often think about that says, "When life is dark and you feel like you've been buried, you may just be planted." As new administrators, we've all been planted in these roles, and though there are times when it feels overwhelming, Jan has always been there to shower us with knowledge and encouragement, helping us grow strong roots. Her dedication to helping others is truly something to be admired. She didn't have to help us, but she chose to. Jan, you may be from Northern Kentucky, but in our hearts, you're a jacket.
You need to get your picture with Dalton, too.
her daughter.
Boy, we want to really thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dalton. Right on. Yeah, you did a good job. Thank you.
And now, if you're driving back tonight,
I got stuff I gotta finish.
oh, that's okay, I'll have you breakfast this morning. That's my keeper. Breakfast in the morning means you might stay all day. That's my thing. And listen, Jen, this board appreciates you.
We
It
do.
was their idea to celebrate you, and me and Dalton were all for it, so.
Can we find her a house here?
We tried, we definitely have tried.
Kinda did.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for those celebrations. Those are 3 people that make a difference in this community. And I promise you, it's not because of what they get in return, but it's just that they love to love on people. And so we're so thankful for you 3 ladies. All right, let's move on to the non-emotional things. I don't know, there might be some.
That's time for public matters, hearing of delegations. If anybody would like to address the board, they can do so at this time.
And you guys are welcome to leave unless you want to stay for the fun part.
Now it's time for the superintendent principal comments.
Okay, so some highlights for us this year. First thing is you guys are getting, you have a copy of my professional growth plan. Last year I worked really hard on culture and managerial was my those are my 2 goals. This year, obviously, culture is my jam. That's exactly what I want to be doing. But I'm ready to dive into instruction. So you'll see in my professional growth plan that instruction is my main focus as the superintendent this year. We have done a lot of things that are focused on being in classrooms. You'll see on there that we have district learning walks. Those learning walks are not evaluative at all. They're just, we are trying to, as district leaders, gain a perspective of what types of learning they're happening in the classroom, and then just get a picture of what are our teachers facing every day. My motto around here is we'll do whatever it takes for kids, and that kids will always be first. And so in doing that, we can be bogged down with the tasks, but my goal is to push my admin team to be in classrooms every day. Our 2 new teaching and learning coaches, that was part of my plan, but one day Mr. Dow said, Miss Housekeeper, I'm just kind of struggling with, what do I do all day? Because, as a teacher, you leave the classroom and it's boom, 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 boom. And I said, Dow, you cannot go wrong if you're with teachers or with students every minute of every day. And I think that probably embodies what we're trying to do this year, is just support our teachers so that they can love on our students. And so that's been our goal the whole time. Part of that is the Portrait of a Learner, and I shared the frequently asked questions about the Portrait of a Learner piece. Ms. Williams just attended a session with KDE right before this meeting where we are kicking off the Portrait of a Learner, but I will tell you this, we're really ahead of the ball game on this. I've been secretly doing Portrait of a Learner since I got here. And so now it's just pulling all those pieces together and creating a graduate profile. Also, we've been working on making sure that our needs assessment is completed. So as part of our CDIP preparation, we have to do a needs assessment. So I've been gathering data and survey results from our community and students, staff, and families since really the summer. So now what you're about to hear from Mr. Patrick is our KSA results and just talking about our next steps and our action plan for taking care of those areas of growth and leveraging those areas of strength. And so that'll be all part of our needs assessment, which will drive our district goals for this coming year. So that's really all I have to share, but I will tell you, available to you is every single district leader PGP. So we've had PGP meetings, and I have copies of those, and you guys are welcome to those to see what our district leaders would like to grow in. So just want to make sure you're aware of that.
All right, now it's time for staff comments. Josh? What's next?
Is this on? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a rundown of the KSA results, and we've got the presentation to kind of guide the comments, and we'll go through each thing. I want to start off with just recognizing our staff and just the great work that was done to achieve several of these highlights we'll go over, and our leadership team that's really supported this. You'll see through the data that a lot of the priorities that were set and the focuses that were set last year, the fruits of those labors were shown through the data. But what I'm going to do is kind of build to the overall score. And so to start off, what you've got here on the graphic is the reading and math status scores for each of our schools. And it's a comparison between the previous year and the current year. And so the way the accountability works is that there's several indicators, and these status scores are a big part of that. So specifically with the reading and math, you can kind of see the data in the graph, but this is where we were at, and I'm just going to run through these pretty quickly. The elementary current year status score was 69.7. The previous year was 66.8, and so that led us to a change of 2.9, so we grew 2.9, and so our change level was considered increased. The high school the middle school was 60.4. Their prior year was 58.8. They as well increased. And then you can see our high school, they were a current year status score of 62.9. Prior year, we were a little bit higher at 69.6, so we had a decline there. And so these are the individual color ratings associated with that particular indicator, if that makes sense. And so that's kind of where we landed. And so the colors associated with the reading and math are green, green, and orange. And so moving on, one of the other indicators is the combined science, social studies, and writing. And so these are the scores associated with that. Again, I'd point out that black is this year's status score in those areas. And the reason we're talking about status is because that's the actual raw score. That's what the students achieved. And so here we have current year with 66.1 for the elementary. The prior year we were much higher at 75.2, so we suffered a decline there. Middle school was 57.1 this year. Prior year was 52.3, and then they increased their score. Our high school maintained exactly the same status from the previous year. And so that led us to these ratings individual for those indicators. So orange, green, and blue. And this is one of the highlights from our data. And Ms. Housekeeper made a big push, and it was clearly evident in a lot of strategic leadership moves last year to emphasize our school climate. And we were really proud of this highlight, and that our current year status score for elementary was 82.4, which prior year was 74.4, which is a giant increase. So our change level there was rated increased significantly. You can see this again in the middle school, 75.3 this year. Prior year was 66.7. And then the high school was 73.2 current year. The prior year was 67.0. And so the reason why, and this is the individual color ratings associated with those indicator scores, but, this came directly from, the fact that a positive school climate promotes students' ability to learn. When students feel safe, engaged, and respected, they're more likely to succeed academically. And that's the goal. We're really proud of this, and our teachers were really proud of this statistic because it informs the fact that our students feel safe when they're here. They feel like they're loved. They feel like they're respected. And so we're really proud of that achievement. This is post-secondary readiness. I added a third year here to inform this statistic, because if you look back in 21 to 22, our status score at that time was around a 48, and we've grown that score steadily over the course of the past 3 years to, and the reason there's a little bit of highlight here is because we have worked, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Berta, several of us have worked. We're in what's called the regulatory cleanup phase right now, and we've discovered some things that will improve that score, and we've already submitted that. KDE's already returned that they will correct these scores, and so the one in parentheses, the 84.6, is more than likely what will be our score, but that's still raw because they've got to get that change in there. And so you can see that's 11-point change over the past year towards our post-secondary readiness, and so we increased their score, and so that is really our color rating there at a 95.6. And obviously we know what we're doing in that category is trying to make students college and career ready, and that's a giant focus for our school district, and so we're really proud of that statistic. Graduation. This is another category that we've been doing some cleanup on even to this moment. Our DPP and Mr. Taylor have been working really hard to identify some graduation cleanup that we found that's going to improve that graduation rate. And so you're going to see that here again. We believe that it will now be around 97.8 for our graduation rate. Prior year was 98.7, so a slight decline, but it'll move to maintained is what our change level was. Now, that is our indicator score as a green, and so those are kind of what I'm getting ready to show you next is kind of where all this combines. Now, the way the accountability system works is they take that status score that I've been showing you, and they add the change based on the prior year together. So that is what informs the indicator score. Those indicator scores are combined and weighted to give you your overall score. And this is the graphic that the board has in their hands, which this shows you kind of the individual components that build us to our overall. Now, we can find, and we anticipated a lot of these things based on the nature of the accountability system, but we clearly have some areas that we know that are priority that we've already begun strategizing and building strategic plans to address. But you can see we're blue-green in most of these areas, right? Now, what the next slide informs is what these are the cut scores that are used for the overall. So this is what is published. This is the overall when they combine all those indicators together. They use these cut scores to determine our performance ranking. And so this is where we ended up. And these are the color ratings associated with that. Now, some of this in the high school will change as we've cleaned up some of that, but it is a picture of where we're at with accountability. And so you can kind of see the nature of the accountability system in that we were here, and these are what our students are actually scoring, but this is our color rating, and a lot of that has to do with the change factor that's involved. But I want to do some final celebrations here to kind of really show what our staff and students achieved. And this is high praise. In high school writing, we're ranked 10th out of 228 high schools. And so top 10 rankings, very hard to accomplish, and we were able to do that. So we celebrated that. High school social studies was ranked 28th out of 228 high schools. Obviously, that puts them in the top portion of the state. What I'm showing you now is some KSA celebrations in regard to the specific levels. So in elementary, in regard to reading, WISD students outperformed 75% of the districts in reading, which put them in the top 25% of the 173 school districts. Same in math, we outperformed 67% of the school districts, put us in the top 33%, and you can see with writing that we outperformed 84%, we're in the top 16%. And so we're proud of these things because these were also associated with focuses of the CDIP and the priorities of the district. Middle school, WISD outperformed 70% of the schools districts in reading. Was able to be in the top 30%. In the area of social studies, 75% we outperformed 75% of the school districts in the top 25. And then you see the theme of writing again, 65. We outperformed 65% of the school districts, putting us in the top 35. And the final one here is the high school, and several celebrations here, specifically in science. You can see we outperformed 68% of the school districts in science, which put us in the top 32. Reading, we outperformed 78% of the school districts, put us in the top 22. Social studies, this is huge. We outperformed 88% of the school districts in the area of social studies, which put us in the top 12% of school districts. And then writing was outstanding. We outperformed 96% of the school districts in writing, which put us in the top 4. That's how we had the top 10 rating. And so that is a rundown of kind of an overview of our assessment data. This is a unique celebration too. We take 26 assessments if you count all grade levels. And on 14 of those assessments, our students scored a higher rate of proficient and distinguished than the state average. And so plenty to celebrate here, but plenty to work and grow around. And so part of the efforts of the elementary, as you have the data in front of you, and it's pretty obvious the areas that we're focusing on and prioritizing. I'm going to let Mr. Moses speak to kind of some of the strategic plans we have to respond to the data for the elementary.
Just the mic. So some of you all I'd spoken with last year. We had a massive growth in the elementary from 2 years ago. So the prior year, we anticipated that it would be extremely difficult to keep up that progress. In the 3 main areas, reading, writing, and math, we grew in reading, grew in math, and we went down slightly in writing, but it was still extremely high. So that kind of leaves us with 2 areas that we're really going to focus on in elementary, and that's science and social studies. If you look back at some of the data, it's really clear that that's the area that we need to focus on, and I want to thank the board for allowing the teaching and learning coaches and Ms. Housekeeper, and also the human resources that we now have that we've not had ever, I think is really going to help with that. So we kind of knew that this was going to happen. I'm really proud of our teachers. They come to school every day and do a great job and work really hard, so I'm really proud that we were able to maintain growth in reading and math. I do also want to say thank you to or the board and Ms. Housekeeper for the HQIR. Our elementary school has the cream of the crop when it comes to the curriculum, and so I really appreciate that. Our new math curriculum, we were trained in professional development there, and our CKLA, we're hitting the ground running this year as well. We have, in kind of anticipation of the science and social studies scores, we are focusing some professional development for teachers to really focus on inquiry-based instruction and critical thinking skills, which is really specific to science, and also some social studies. And then to continue on our writing success, we have consulted with a specialist to come in and continue that and align that with really from 2nd grade. And I don't want to speak for middle school, but our writing is going to be very much aligned from 2nd to 8th grade. So that's good news. And I just appreciate the resources and know that we're out there, boots on ground, you know, trying to do what's best for kids. We love our kids. We love our community. We love our teachers. And, you know, we want to continue to grow every year.
And so, really, what Mr. Moses spoke to is all thanks to the support of the board and Ms. Housekeeper's vision, and we're prepared to address those growth areas head on, and we already were planning, and like we said, and so, you know, you've got the human resources like Mr. Moses mentioned, allocated funds directly to these anticipated priority areas through, like he said, the purchasing of HQIRs, which is high-quality instructional resources, as well as professional developments targeted specifically at the priority areas that we have. But that is all I have for the presentation. If you guys have any questions, I would be happy to address those.
Josh, when you get those corrections, would you be
Absolutely.
kind enough to give those to the board?
Yeah, and I will, in addition, send quite a bit of data to all of you all. Tomorrow or today is the last day of that regulatory period, and so they'll clean up those results, and then we can send that out. But that's a pretty good. Mr. Taylor did a great job of kind of doing the math a little bit on where we think those adjusted areas will what they'll inform, and so. But I will absolutely get that to the board.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Now it's time for the WWA representative comments.
So going off what Josh said, I want to thank you all for helping provide our teachers with so much support. We have so much of it, and there's so much positivity that's been given to us and everyone in the building to do our job and inspire our students in the best way we can. And that's been just a huge boost of confidence across the board for everyone. It's been great. And then obviously the big thing is what's coming up. November the 5th is approaching, and we're kind of restricted on what we can do. Yeah, we're all restricted on what we can do. The best thing to do is just to pass out information, is to let people know that this says it's a school choice amendment, but it's not, because there's no certified private school in Whitley County. So all of our tax money is going to go for people to go to private schools other places. So that's the big thing to get out. Somerset Christian. We have no certified private school here, so none of our tax money would go to kids to go to a private school in this. Correct, but from what I read from the Economic Council is that rural areas like us, even if this passes, there still isn't going to be a private school that would be able to make it here for people to really afford the tuition. In most cases. Because I looked. Right. I looked from the map of the certified private schools in the state. If you go, yes, Somerset Christian and Cornerstone in London are like the two closest geographically to us. But if you look at the map, if you go south of Lexington and over to Pikeville, there's only 15 in that whole area of the state. That's it. So they're going to.
It benefits anybody that's in public education. Now, my question is this: you're saying we don't have one near us, which doesn't mean we're not going to get one, but the money is still being pulled from public, which
Correct.
we all share in. I would think that would mean a restriction or a reduction to us, regardless of us having a private school. True or false?
It would, because the money, SEEK funding, according to Amendment 2, SEEK funding follows the student. So wherever the student goes, that money goes with them.
So we got a pie.
Yeah,
They
but,
take a piece of it
that
out.
doesn't answer what I'm saying, or that I think I'm asking. On an individual basis, fine, the money follows the student, I'm with that. But I don't follow the rest of the story. That means there's a reduction in in the overall, if students go, I mean, I'm very
Mhm.
confused.
100%, and we would also be in transportation costs too. So it'd be more than just one.
That's what I'm saying though, okay,
There's
thank
no-
you, sorry, I didn't.
No, you're fine.
No, that's, I mean, that's how we
But
all.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me what all we're saying, other than I don't see how it can benefit public education. If we wanna do away with it,
It's-
let's
no,
just
it's
do
not.
away with it completely, and we won't have to worry about it.
But the big thing is just us being able to allow the community know that this is going to be just a huge downfall to us. As far as how many schools that we have locally, you know, so just so people know when they read this bill, there's not a school in the area that their kids will be able to go to.
Propaganda, they can put it out, can't they? We just can't.
They can, we can't.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, is that's kind of the biggest thing right now, is that we're getting all kinds of, we're getting materials in the mail constantly.
Yeah.
And so, constantly, and so I just think that the truth.
It's out of Louisville, isn't it?
What would you say would be the best thing that we can share with our community?
Is how, what? Vote no. There's no benefit for us as a school in the community. There's no
There's no benefit.
There's no
to you
current
all as
benefit.
teachers, which you claim you're gonna be
Correct.
better off, I do not see how that can be, and there's no benefit to our students.
No,
necessarily.
in the states that have passed this, the average salary of a public school educator is $18,000 less than schools that, states that, $18,000 less. States that have passed this compared to the ones that haven't.
Rand Paul says the public school not gonna lose them, we have to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I want to apologize to our principal. Are there any comments from our principal?
I think Josh covered it all.
All right. Now it's time for the consent agenda. Are there any questions about the consent agenda? If not, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass the consent agenda.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say the same. Now it's time for the action agenda, approval of the district-wide fundraiser to fund a Winsburg Powder Puff Football League. Tabitha, let you explain. That's him.
Actually, Miss Parton.
Okay.
What do you say about the powder puff?
It's just a game, it's not necessarily a league.
So will that will,
There's that, it's just one game, and that is gonna be from our JAG teacher, Ms. Sizemore. So she's gonna be, helping to roll that out, and basically they're gonna use that game as a fundraiser so that those JAG students can go on field trips, and get some opportunities out in the community, just funds for those outings.
Do we know who's participating in the?
It'll be, to my understanding, high school girls are on the Powder Puff football team.
We've done this in prior years, and it was a big success fundraiser, several years, I remember doing it. There's a lot of,
Hoping staff could do it. Just saying.
I mean, that would be fun too.
like,
I'd be a real good quarterback.
hop out of here.
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
liability for me.
Just kidding, it was all a joke.
If I,
No more liability.
if I can recall right, we had, some of the male students in high school were cheerleaders at the
I
game.
remember that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that.
Yep.
All right, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. All right, number two, approval of the district-wide fundraiser Penny War for Carson.
So I'll kind of give you a little bit of backstory on this. One of our incoming kindergartners was diagnosed with cancer this summer. And so this would be a school-wide, district-wide fundraiser to have our students bring in, their change, kind of like what we did for Make-A-Wish Foundation last year, and then all of the proceeds would go to his family.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
architect, engineer for the district facility plan.
Okay, for the next two, I'm just gonna have, well, actually, the next three. Mr. Taylor, why don't you just come on up and kind of walk us through where we are in the process? So we are at the stage where we are going to have to rewrite our district facilities plan, which actually is a blessing, but it's a lot of work. So I'm gonna let Mr. Taylor kind of share what we have coming up and to look ahead. We've got quite a few meetings, and you'll hear this being brought up at several board meetings to come.
Yeah, so our district facility plan was written the previous time from 21 to 24, 2021 through 24. And so we're due a new district facility plan that's due June of 2025. It is October of 24. That seems like we've got plenty of time, but in our timeline to get this accomplished and to meet all the KDE regulations, time is really kind of the essence here. So the first thing the first two things that has to occur, the first thing is for the board to hire an architect or an engineer to basically oversee the district facility plan. You should have gotten some information from an architect firm out of Somerset, and then there was some interest from the architect who is overseeing the football stadium completion, Clofelter and Samacar. Those two had expressed interest about this. I had asked for a proposal of what they would be responsible for and the cost from each company. Deco Architects provided that. I did not hear back from the other architectural firm on what they would be responsible for the plan. If they would facilitate the plan, the audit, those kinds of things, Deco had that all in their proposal plus the cost. The cost is 5 cents per 1,000 square feet that they would audit of all of our district facilities. And so that's one thing the board needs to do here with item number 3 is to approve which firm you want to go with.
So we're approving the firm tonight, not
The
just.
architect.
Yes, the architect.
And I will tell you, I've had a little bit of experience with Deco. So we put an ad in the paper, just like we did when we were advertising for new construction. And, like he said, they responded. Deco spoke at, I don't know, Ron Bruce, you might have heard them, and you all might have heard them. They were at KSBA last year, and so, they've done quite a bit of work in the community. They've done some, not in this community, but in other districts around us. Rock Castle County uses them. And so I felt Mr. Taylor had already kind of had them on his mind too, and so when they reached out, that was a situation where we reached out to our new fiscal agent, and he said he'd work with them, they do really great work, and, they're go-getters. So my recommendation would be that we hire Deco to be on our team and committee, our local planning committee, to complete our district facilities plan that's due June 2025.
We don't have no choice. We've got to hire an architect.
Okay, so your other choice would be that you don't want to go with them, and then we would need to continue to add in the paper to receive more people who want to be a part of it. So, they're solid, it's a married couple, both were educators.
They're out of Somerset.
Uh-huh. Yep, actually, Jason mentioned, so,
Okay,
they're good.
Okay, I guess we need to vote on that one first. Approval to hire the architect, engineer, Deco.
Is that the architect?
Deco.
Yes.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say the same. Now, the next one is,
Yeah, so the next one, on this local planning committee, there has to be representation from the board. And so one of you lucky members will be serving on the local planning committee.
I nominate Donnie.
And however you all, the process that you all take is your process, but we need you all to select someone to be on the local planning committee.
Donnie, are you willing to serve?
Sure.
Then I will second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say the same.
Okay, 2 for 2. So then the last part, we also did advertisement in the local newspaper for a business and community leader to serve on the local planning committee. I did not, or I don't think anyone received any input from the local community at that point. Oh, we did.
No, he talked with someone today,
Oh, well, and then I was going to say, since we did not receive that, then our recruitment is now open. So if you're recruiting, that's great. And so if you all have someone, the only thing that would be a stipulation here, and really for all the members of this local planning committee, is they need to live inside of the school district. So if that's the case, then that should be good.
Roddy Harrison will be our community leader to serve on the board.
Great.
I guess we need to vote on that too, don't we?
Yep, you do.
Can I get a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say the same.
You guys are good? Okay.
We're legal now. ain't we?
You are.
Okay.
Number 6. Okay. Well, we got Paul online here too, don't we? Paul, he's here. Yeah, you hear him? Yeah.
He's here, he's listening to you, Alan. He's listening, he's right here on the screen.
He said, yes,
Well,
I
ask
hear.
him why he doesn't come in.
I think we'll wait till after.
We'll go on to number 6, approval of the Bell Whitley Food Program Meal Service Agreement. Any questions?
Okay, I think you all know what that is.
Yeah. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say the same. Number 7, approval to remove FNBO as the school credit card provider. Any questions?
Y'all wanna know about it?
Yeah.
Okay, and Kim, I was looking at you. You should be like, woo-hoo!
So we have had a situation with FMBO since we've had it. And so we've been working with Fort Bank. Basically, I think there were problems with the credit card way before I got here. And, I mean, we just can't get it. I mean, we have literally had we've worked every avenue to try to get the credit card taken care of. It will be completely paid off. And so what we would like to do is go ahead and get out of our, basically just shut down our FMBO card and get our credit card service through Fort Bank, which is who has all of our bank accounts. I'd rather have all of our financial systems in one place rather than having, something, National Bank of Omaha, First National Bank of Omaha. I don't know why we had that, but I would like to just close that out and have it all in one place.
All right. Are there any questions? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say the same. Approval to add Fort Bank as the new school credit card provider. Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say the same. Approval of shortened school day for student.
Ms. Dana, do you wanna speak on that?
It's. This process is a process that's done through the ARC committee. So it's a formality for the board to be, they don't have to approve it, we just have to let you all know that it's there. And then we also have to send it to our co-op and up to the state. So this is just making you all aware of it.
So we don't have to approve it.
So Dana, my understanding is we don't have to vote on it?
No.
Is that correct?
No, it's determined by the ARC, but we do have to.
Okay.
So you want me to just put that there's no action needed? Okay.
Yeah.
No action necessary.
second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say the same. Approval of the CATS FY 24-25 Technology Activity Report.
I think that one was removed, because that's not on the new agenda.
Okay, all right.
Is that a mistake?
It's a mistake. All right.
Oh, wait, no, it was. It's still on there, I'm sorry. Okay, so that one is just a signature that you have, that, stating that we have approved to match it. And so on that page, what happens is you get to mark, are you gonna escrow it, are you going to match it exactly, whatever. And so that's just the approval that we're gonna choose one of those and send it over.
All right, can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say the same. Approval of the superintendent's professional growth plan. Are there any questions?
She came.
Are there any questions, Alan?
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say the same. Did I miss one?
Well, there was one, maybe not printed on, there was one that was not printed on his, so it's the updated capital fund request.
Okay. Approval of the updated capital funds request. Are there any questions?
So, that's actually a great question. Dalton went to probably find more money, but he and Jen worked today. We had not completed a capital funds request in a couple of years, and what that does, what we did, actually, we just need you to approve for us to request from the state $743,586. That's the commitment that we had in return. If they approve that, we should get right around, $438,701, which would go in, it has restricted places that it can go. Obviously, our building and facilities is always the place that, anything that's on our current district facilities plan is what it can help pay for. So, that's what is currently on it. Property insurance is an example, general liability insurance, building repairs and maintenance, plumbing repairs and maintenance. And then what we'd really like to do, this is kind of a dream thing for me, is revamp our entire cafeteria. So if Katie approves this and you guys approve it, then we would like to change our cafeteria to be more of like booths and high top tables and just a better environment for our students. And so these funds that we would get back from the state, as long as they approve it, that's how we would spend the funds.
Are there any questions? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say the same. Now, information.
Well, we are missing Dalton. He left you to do it.
Okay, pretend I'm Dalton for a minute. Okay, he said, for the financial update, we didn't collect any taxes in September, so our numbers from the last meeting are the same. And the new tax bills have been sent in the mail today, so the community will receive those sometime toward the end of this week, beginning of next week. And they have closed out Fund 2 grants from 1998, and they are cleaning up ESSER to ensure that we get every penny back that was awarded to us via federal cash requests. So I'll go ahead and do my part. For new hires, we have Kenneth Woods. He is our new middle school basketball coach. We have Joanne Broyles, who is our custodian. Tanya Douglas, custodian. Jasmine Short, bus monitor. Jada Matlock, student food service worker. Nathan Gooden, student food service worker. And Nancy Housekeeper as a substitute teacher. And we had no resignations this month.
That's all right. Board member comments.
Just for Shauna to know, if any of you are going to the regional meeting the 29th, you need need to let her know by, I think it's October 21st, so that she can make a reservation for you.
How many hours is it? One. One? Is it one?
What? Is it just one? Okay, so they're not doing the additional things ahead?
Also, KSBA is coming up to go over that.
And then KSBA is the first weekend in December.